Hello and welcome back to NCSY Pulse, powered by NCSY Alumni. My name is John Ackerman. I'm reminding you all to follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever you get your podcast, as well as on our Instagram at NCSY Pulse, where you can catch all of our interviews, especially today's show, with our special guest, Naomi Nachman, kosher celebrity chef and friend of mine, friend of the Ackerman family. I'm very proud and excited to say, Naomi, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm so happy to be here. Congratulations on this podcast. It's amazing.
Thank you very much. We're very excited about it. I have to tell you, before we get started, even with the formal podcast, my kids were very, very excited that I was going to be interviewing today. You know, you did my oldest daughter's bat mitzvah a couple years ago, and she still brags about it to her friends. So,
oh my God, amazing. That's great.
yeah, this is a very special thing for the Ackerman family, so thank you very much. You are obviously extremely well known in the Jewish community, not just to the Ackermans and not just NCSY, but really to the entire Jewish community at large, as somebody who is an authority on kosher food and kosher programs. So bring us back a little bit to the beginning. What inspired you to dive headfirst into the world of kosher cooking?
Okay, so I started up my life off as a teacher. I went to Touro College, which I loved, and I was a ganenet, a preschool teacher, for a couple of years. I always loved teaching. I was always involved in being a madricha in youth groups in Australia, in B'nai Akiva. I loved being a leader and a role model and all that. It's just a thing that we all did growing up in Sydney. When I came to America, I did my BA, as I said, at Touro, and I got married, and I had to cook for my husband and then children. So I didn't really cook growing up because my parents are amazing cooks. They didn't need me in the kitchen. They just did their own thing, and we ate amazing food. And then I had to now make amazing food. So I would devour cookbooks. I would read them and enjoy them. I married 31 years. There was no internet back then. You actually had to open a book or buy a book.
Imagine that.
Imagine and read. I would read cookbooks from cover to cover. And I read Noreen Galette. She's since passed away. I think she passed away right before Corona in 2020. And she was really one of the first culinary leaders of, I would say this generation. A lot of people younger don't know her, but people my generation, my mother's generation, they heard of her, and I read all her books. And then Susie Fishbein, I got her first cookbook, and she was like the first of the modern of our actual generation. And I would read the head notes to each recipe. I would read literally who the editor was, what edition it was, all the way to the final period at the end of the cookbook. And it just inspired me, and I really just loved to cook. And then teaching doesn't make that much. So, I told my husband I want to become a personal chef. He's like, whatever you like, go for it. I was always very entrepreneurial. When I was a kid, I had a babysitting business and I had a clown business. I would do birthday parties. Come on, you could totally see me do that as a 15-year-old. I would run birthday parties dressed up as a clown. So I made $40 a Sunday. That's a lot of money in the 80s growing up. And I made the hustle. I did the hustle back then and
right
today. And so I took this leap of faith into becoming a personal chef. I took an ad out in a bifold newsletter that people used to mail out.
Sure.
Called the Chesed News Network, and I wrote Kosher Private Chef Available. And my life has changed dramatically. Ever since that day, 30 years ago. I told that story once, and the woman goes, it was at a women's dinner, and she raised her hand and she goes, that was me. That was my Chesed Network News.
No.
Now you have WhatsApp chats, right? But back then you had a trifold and it got mailed to you. So that's really how I started. And there was no, now there's WhatsApp chats and all the chefs get together and they make dinners for each other and they have networks. There was literally just me. There was no one else doing this. Maybe one or two people that I didn't hear of. And I just kind of took that leap of faith. It was amazing. I never thought this would end up turning into what my life is now, but it's amazing.
What a cool story. Now that you're saying it, I never imagined that you were a teacher, but I see it. I see it. I
But
see the energy. I see the way you talk to people. I'm sure you were a great teacher, but this seems like totally up your alley and a ton of fun. I see that you're all over the world. You travel to all these different programs. You try all these different new restaurants and new places. What's one memorable moment that sticks out
gosh,
in your memory of all your
uh,
travels?
okay. I've just got to go by recent because my head is
Sure.
filled with a lot of stuff. So my husband and I have been blessed to go to 40 countries.
Wow.
And we've got between January, February, and March about 9 more that we're doing, like new ones for us. Crazy.
Unbelievable.
I'm like, thank you, Hashem, every minute of every day. Something I found very memorable is something very recent. And I've spoken about this actually at the Youngers of West Hampstead. I spoke about this on Shavuot, and I've had two articles. I've written an article in Mishpacha magazine, and I just got interviewed for Valor magazine out of England about a trip to Spain and the Jewish history in Spain and how moving it was, and in Portugal. So I'm very blessed to work. You'll hear me say that a lot. I feel very blessed because the words have to come out of my mouth because of my
Sure.
connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I just so grateful for what I get to do. So I work for a company called Kosher River Cruises. It goes on cruises in Europe. We do Jewish history, and I run the culinary adventures. Like if we go to the truffle farm, or if we go, I do culinary classes on the boat, and I also run their marketing. So we went to Portugal. We're on the Douro River, which starts in Porto, Portugal. Along the Douro River were tons of Jewish communities that are no more. They were wiped off. There's no quite often you can go to European, like you go to old shuls in Europe, or
Sure.
revamped old European shuls. There they were destroyed because remember the Spanish Inquisition, they knocked everything down, they destroyed everything. So a lot of those places just really hit me, and we went to a town called Belmonte, right outside, like along the Douro River. It's about a half an hour, and the Jews there were underground in hiding till I think it was 1912 or 1914. They thought they were the last Jews. Now, from 1492, really they were already a little bit in hiding before that. From 1492 till 19 something, they thought they were the last Jews. There's a whole story behind it. Which it's not for now. You can go listen to Dr. Henry Abramson. He's my colleague and friend who's also on the tour giving Jewish history tours. But I found that so touching to my heart and my soul. And on that trip, we did a lot of Spain. We went to Toledo, Cordova. Cordova's where the Rambam is. Seville, Marbella. Like, who knew there was even now there's a lot of Madrid, Barcelona. There's so much history there.
Right.
A lot of it's gone, but there are remnants to see, and you can just feel the pain of the Sephardic Jewish community. I'm Ashkenaz, but we always learn about Ashkenazi. The pogroms and the Holocaust is still fresh. But from the Spanish Inquisition, I found that whole trip mind-blowing. I loved it. And then again, we're talking about history now. We're not even talking about food. So on that trip, I made a lot of cod cakes because they eat a lot of cod, which is fished out of the Douro River. So, I just found that a very memorable and moving trip.
Wow, that's really incredible. And I'm going to have to now delve into all that. So thank you for sending me down that rabbit hole after we're done.
Go check it out.
You mentioned being blessed. We are very blessed in NCSY that we've had you on a number of programs. Thank God I've been able to have you on a number of my own programs. And you have really, I think, a very special relationship with some of the NCSY summer programs. Tell us a little bit about what it's been like entering the NCSY world. I should also mention that, my first connection via NCSY to the Nachman family was when your daughter Eliana was with us a number of years ago on a Shabbaton. And I'm very happy to be able to say that Ellie and I are still pretty close ad hayom hazeh. And it's really cool for me to have that connection to you guys. But tell us about what NCSY has meant to you and what your experience has been like so far.
Love NCSY. I did not grow up with NCSY. I grew up in a modern Orthodox, beautiful Jewish community in Sydney, Australia. What we would have is B'nai Kiva youth groups or Zionistic youth groups, different hashkafa. You had Habonim and Beitar and B'nai Kiva. There was Hineni, which is different than the Hineni here in America. Some were to the left, some to the right, some to the middle. Depends on we always think we're the middle, right? So some were to the left of me, some were to the right of me. So there's no really NCSY. So my first introduction to NCSY was when I came to America. I knew people who were as advisors. And I actually was down in Savannah and I met with the rabbi of the big shul there in Savannah, Slatus. And he told me that's where the first NCSY chapter was started. When I was in Savannah, I met with him and I interviewed him. He told me that that was the first chapter of NCSY. I get married, I have kids. My kids grow up in a pretty religious environment here in the 5 towns. But it comes to the summertime and it was time to look for a program for them. So, of course, NCSY Summer ran the most amazing programs for them. Here and there, I was invited to go to a Shabbaton, to run a challah bake or a babka bake. And I saw how NCSY, whether you're more to the right or more to the left, just brings everyone together. And that just was so touching to me. I'm like, I've got to get involved in this, and that you follow through. The fact that you don't just leave when you're a teenager. We've got NCSY alumni with you and Rabbi Marchak. Really, that was another big thing for me, was meeting Rabbi Marchak when I helped promote the bike ride, and I was going to go on the tour. But I think I couldn't do it in the end. I think we ended up going to Israel, but I was totally supportive. And not only do I support...
It's a good excuse.
Yeah, I was scared of the bike. I'm like, let's go to Israel. No. I can bike ride. But like, I felt like there's a lot of follow through. Like, you've got the NCSY when you're in high school, you've got the alumni, and if you're not involved, there's, I absolutely love the Israel Free Spirit. That also brings kids to Israel. When it was time for my children to attend the summer programs, I'm like, my daughter actually didn't want to go to camp. Ellie didn't want to go to sleepaway camp anymore. And I was working a sleepaway camp. She's like, what's there to do? I'm in 9th grade. I'm like, I believe there's an NCSY summer camp program that you can go to in 9th grade already. And that was Michlele, run by Rebitz and Rivka. Yudin, amazing game changer, changed her life. It changed her life. She was always a bit nervous about Israel. She's, it's a little bit scary as a kid when you go there and you hear about bombs and you hear about, let's help the kids in Sderot because they have, they're always having rockets thrown at them. All these programs that we do in the US to help the kids in Israel. So it made my daughter think, wait, it's a little bit scary in Israel. But sending her on a summer program gave her a love for Israel. She's made Aliyah. It was her growth as a human being, as a Zionist, as a religious girl. It just really just gave her a warm hug for the rest of her life. The second year, I sent 2 daughters to NCSY Summer, and Gabriella and joined her, and it was the year of the 2014 war.
Right.
And I knew sending my kids to Israel in the summer, literally the war was starting when the planes were taking off. And everyone said to me, how can you send your kids? I'm like, they're going with NCSY. They will be safe. I knew Rabbi David Cutler would keep them safe, and they did. They kept them up. Funny story. Not so funny, but funny. They sent them up north to Chispin, and they gave them schnitzel for lunch and dinner. My daughter still cannot look at schnitzel.
Oh, no.
And I love schnitzel. That's a foodie story. But they kept them safe. And now I sent my daughter, my youngest daughter is much younger than everyone else. I sent my daughter this past summer to NCSY. I knew... we all know what's going on in Israel. Wasn't worried. I knew that they would keep them safe, and they kept them so safe. And then I got to be involved in NCSY doing cooking competitions and cooking shows, and I saw each of the different programs live in action. And parents ask me now, NCSY Summer should give me a job talking about the different programs and how awesome they are, because I saw Next Step, and I saw Rescue, and I saw Michlele, and I saw Kollel. Like, I saw these programs in action. I didn't just send my kid. I got to see and be part of the magic of NCSY. Right? Hands on, full on. It was unreal. Kids to the right, kids to the left, kids shy, kids quiet, kids loud, just coming together in NCSY. And everybody gets a chance to shine, and that's what I love about NCSY.
Incredible. I love everything you said, especially that we've been repeatedly probably embarrassing Ellie on the podcast, which is which is gold for me as a father of 4 girls. I'm loving it.
We're part of the 4 Girls Club, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, we got to be
Right.
comparing notes here. I got to come back to you for more advice. I actually often quote you because you told me at my daughter's bat mitzvah. I don't know if you remember this. You said, "Savor this moment because this is her last simcha that you get to take her home from." And I was like, I don't want to hear this. Don't tell me these things, you know. But I quote you all the time to other people at bat mitzvahs. I say the same thing now, and then they yell at me. So
My mother said that to me, and let me tell you, the bat mitzvah girl that my mum said that to me at, she now has 3 kids and lives in Israel.
wow,
She's 30. It was 18
I
years
love it.
ago.
I love it. You know, you mentioned that your eyes got opened up to so many of the things that NCSY does. One of them being NCSY alumni, and I appreciate your shout out there. One of the questions I get all the time from specifically our public school teens, but also the yeshiva kids that come through our system, is they go away to campus. And many of these campuses do have Chabad and Olami and different Jewish organizations, but a lot of them really are trying to grow in their Judaism, and a large element is keeping kosher and eating kosher, and for many of them it's cooking kosher. And what we've been doing, which is kind of fun, is a lot of our alumni have been making easy kosher cooking videos to share with their friends because people really struggle. I didn't learn to cook until I was in my 30s, and my wife was a medical resident, and I was either cook or starve. And so, you know, I learned to cook a little bit, but a lot of these kids have no idea, and they go to their dorms, you know, they go to college, and they kind of have to learn to fend for themselves. What advice would you give to some of these kids who are just learning to cook for the first time, but learning to cook kosher is now a really important part of their life?
Okay, number one, this generation is so into their social media. There is so many
Yes.
free recipes and tutorials between YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. There's a ton out there. You can follow along on my Instagram. But, you know, if you have an oven and a stovetop, great. But so many of the kids do not have that. There's something called the Betty Crocker pizza maker that you can cook just about anything. And I've traveled the United States, and I've been to places like I think it's Red Hook, Montana. I went to the supermarket there, and they had the same pizza bases that they have in the 5 towns. You can find OU products in Hawaii, Alaska, Montana, Connecticut, Binghamton, where my kids went
Everywhere.
to Queens College, right? You can find kosher ingredients, and you can make something delicious. And in your Betty Crocker, you'll need a milchik one and a fleishik one. But you can get so much done. You can even do cooking in a microwave. Actually, in my cookbook, I've got a recipe to make a chocolate cake in a mug.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah, very cute. It was done for college-age students. There are so many things that you can do, from eggs to quesadillas to grilled chicken cutlets, roasted vegetables, grilled fish, you know, baked fish, all in the Betty Crocker. There's really a ton of fantastic things that you can make in those things, and with great fresh ingredients, and also eating healthy, not eating so many packaged foods is also, you know, salads and grilled chicken, salads and grilled fish. Also, we have Trader Joe's in a lot of places around the country. They also have tons and tons of kosher products as well. And online, Amazon has, I work for Kosher.com, which is part of a marketing arm of Keiko, Manischewitz. These are brands that are under the Keiko. Manischewitz, Geffen, Tuscanini. You can buy them on Amazon, and it can get shipped to your door wherever you are in the country. And you can use those ingredients to make fabulous food. We are making better ingredients every day. There's new products coming out.
That's so helpful. Thank you so much. I think they're going to appreciate it. And we'll send you some of the clips that we've got. These kids are really creative with what they do. And
yeah, I would love to see, guys. Send me photos. Follow me at Naomi Nachman, and then send me on Instagram what you make. Or if you want me to come out and do cooking with you in your dorms, I'd totally be down for that.
Outstanding. All right, we're going to take you up on that.
Okay.
So, you know, you mentioned there's new ingredients coming out. There's new, you know, Betty Crockers, and everything's on social media. There's so many opportunities out there in the world of kosher cooking. What's one of the emerging trends that you've started to notice? You know, obviously you need to kind of stay ahead of the curve because, you're leading the curve in many ways. But what's a new trend that you've seen starting to come out?
Okay, so all these soups. I know it's an old thing, but it's a new thing again. Like these ramen noodle bowls and dumplings, very trendy. And you can, especially now it's winter at the time of recording, you can take some soup broth, you can throw in some matzo balls, even frozen matzo balls already made, not the packet mix, but it's already rolled up into a ball. All you have to do is boil it. Put that in some soup. But the ramen noodle bowls and all those dumplings, or very, I mean, it's a meal in one. So that's become like very trendy, doing dumplings. I see that with some chili crisp on top. Hopefully you'll know what that is. If not, you can Google that. Do you know what that is, John?
I don't know what that is, but I'm really excited to try it now.
Okay, Gourmet Glad has it in here in the 5 towns. It's like a spicy, crunchy condiment almost. And that's so on point right now. Very trendy.
You talk about the different brands that you work with and the different organizations that you work with. Have you ever had a chance to collaborate with other chefs from different organizations or different businesses?
Oh, we all love getting together. Nothing like foodies getting together.
Yes.
A lot of times we just get together at a restaurant to promote a restaurant, which is really fun for all of us. But like if someone's got a cookbook coming out, like we'll go over to someone's house and cook together one of the recipes from their book. I've done that with Melinda Strauss. She's big on TikTok and Instagram. And, she helped me promote my Pesach cookbook and she came over and we made a recipe together. That was also it was so fun, we just...
Yeah.
We love to talk. We love to eat. That's why we like doing what we do.
That's incredible. I love to hear it. I obviously love to talk and I do love to eat. So that's perfect for me as well. I love hearing about these different partnerships and collaborations. Any new or exciting projects, cookbooks that are on the horizon for you?
Not for me personally. I'm actually working on my website. I'm going to have a brand new website because whatever's on there is current and needs to be updated. So you'll find it soon. Watch this space. You'll let them know.
Okay.
NaomiNachman.com or the AussieGourmet.com. And I'm going to have all my recipes in one place because I find that people will say, where can I find your gefilte fish recipe from? I'm like, scroll. Just keep scrolling through my Instagram. It's very hard. You can't really search your Instagram page.
Right.
So I'm going to take everything. Actually, Ellie's helping me do that. And my daughter Gabriella has a master's in communication design. So she's made me a website and we're putting everything in the one page. So you can easily search my recipes. And I'm always continuing to work. I've got a collaboration with Breakstone Butter coming up before Hanukkah, one with Manischewitz matzo balls because that's very on point. I love soup. So they're always asking me to come up with soup recipes. Got a few things in the works.
Great. We talk about all these different Jewish foods, and you've mentioned many of your favorites, but give us one overrated Jewish food and then one underrated Jewish food.
I think brisket's so overrated.
Wow, really?
I'm like, pulled brisket. If I look at one more pulled brisket recipe, now I make it like if I'm doing flatbreads or something, but I just feel like brisket, come on.
It's everywhere, yeah.
Everywhere. Like people think Jewish food. So when my book came out, of course, it was my first book was a Pesach cookbook, and of course you have to have a brisket recipe in your cookbook. And then I got flown out to California to do a show called Home and Family on the Hallmark Channel, a cooking segment, and they picked brisket, and they used Manischewitz wine. I'm like. I love Manischewitz wine. I love Manischewitz, but we make incredible kosher wines now.
Right.
Not heavily, very sweet. I'm not knocking anyone. God forbid. I love Manischewitz wines.
Yeah.
I love everything. I mean, I love everything kosher. I love everyone's brands. I'm not, but just saying with the advent of all these great wineries, they didn't even know about it. That's people think brisket and Manischewitz wine.
Yeah.
So I think that's completely overdone. And then underrated, that's a good question. It's very personal, but I think people blow over gefilte fish too much.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Okay. Why is that so personal?
Talking about Jewish food. We're talking strictly about Jewish food.
Yeah.
It gets a bad rap, but I love it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. My grandmother made it from scratch the old-fashioned way with a big mixing bowl, and she'd mix the mince, and she'd go to the fish store in Sydney, and once a week would have a mashgiach, and she would get the fish ground, and she'd bring. It was a whole day experience, and the house smelled of fish for 3 days. I mean, maybe it's just a great memory for me, but I think people are too scared to try it. I think you
I
should try it.
think I think it's because there's like two types of gefilte fish. There's the gefilte fish that you're talking about, which people make, but then there's like the evil twin of gefilte fish, which is the jar that you find in the supermarket, right?
Agreed.
Can I tell you, I have this great, or maybe it's a horrible gefilte fish story that scarred me for life. Because I agree with you. I grew up also, my grandmother made gefilte fish. My mother made gefilte fish, and I loved it. And then I went to Israel for my year after high school, and there was this very lovely older couple that I stayed with in Bayit Vegan. And at lunchtime, the wife comes over to me, and she says to me, "Would you like gefilte fish?" And I said, "Sure, I would. I love gefilte fish, absolutely." And I should have looked. She takes the jar, one of those big, like, and you know where the pieces are just suspended in the slime, and she takes a ladle and puts it in and like glops it down on my plate. And I'm sitting there thinking, "Oh my God, I can't eat this. It's disgusting." But she asked me if I wanted it, and I said yes. So what am I going to do? So I start mentally preparing myself. Okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to eat it. But then she puts the ladle back into the jar and scoops out just a ladleful of the slime and plops it on top of the fish with like a big smile. And I can remember the smell. I remember the visual. This is like 20 something years ago.
Brown it in grain?
There was no grain. There was just me and my nemesis, this piece of gefilte fish.
Yeah.
And I am both very proud and very emotionally scarred of this moment. And I ate the whole thing piece by piece. And I felt like it was like my duty. Like I had to do it, and I did it. And today I can taste it still. And it's horrible. It's horrible. But I agree with you.
Story.
That's right. That's like the evil twin side of gefilte fish. But
The
there's a good twin side. It's like the Yaakov and Esav of Jewish food. There's a good brother who it's delicious, right? And I'm the same way. I'm with you. When you make it and it's homemade, amazing.
It's so good. It's so good. I happen to like with mayonnaise. How do you gefilte fish?
So so it's very funny. There's a few things I'll put on it, but I'm sort of weird with my taste. Sometimes I'll put hummus on it. I like hummus on gefilte fish. I'll put any sort of like a spicy mayo. I love spicy with gefilte fish. That's like my go-to.
Okay, I can appreciate that. Sweet and heat.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then my mother makes an amazing gefilte fish recipe. Mom, if you're listening, shouts to you. My mom actually does listen to all of my episodes, and then she texts me afterwards. Which is
that's so cute. That's so cute.
Yes, she makes an amazing, like sort of like a pepper crusted gefilte fish, which is really, really good. So, so I'm with you. I'm with you on gefilte fish. Okay, as we wrap up here, do you have a message that you could relate to anybody who's listening? You took your passion and you made it a career, and that is absolutely incredible, and it's super inspiring. Do you have a message to somebody who's maybe got an aspiring career? They have their passion, they know what they would love to do, but something's holding them back from starting.
I guess sometimes it's just that first step that becomes the hardest. Right? Mamish the first step. Like, close your eyes, take a breath, and jump. Because what's going to happen? Nothing. So, it didn't work out. Come up with something else. My husband always says that Walt Disney had 100 businesses before he came out with Mickey Mouse. So, he tried and tried again, and he's probably the most successful entrepreneur out there. So just really try to come up with your idea, come up with your passion, do what you love to do. That should be, I speak to a lot of kids in high school, 12th grade, or a career day. I said, find the thing that you love, and not everyone can find the thing that they love. That's in itself a bracha, to have something you want to do. Not everyone can have that. But if you have it, make it your passion, and your passion becomes your business. And let's say, if you work hard, you're hardly working. There's an expression like that. Exactly. I work also, you have to daven that you'll have professional success, for sure. And nothing comes easy. Everyone goes, wow, you get to do this, you get to do that. Wow, you get all these things said to you. I'm like, I spent 20 years working 18 hours a day. I still work 18 hours a day. Nothing comes easy.
Right.
By the grace of God, I go and just I put in my hours. And if Hashem feels that He's going to make this work for you, He'll make it work for you. And a lot of people put in time and it doesn't always go so well. So you just get up and try again. Hashem is redirecting you in a different way. You have to acknowledge that as well. But it's really hard work all the time. But look, I have a really busy day, but I made sure that I was here for NCSY. And you just have to make time for the people that help you along the way and Hashem. And I feel like you guys are God's work, helping people connecting to Hashem and just our Jewish life, our culture, our religion, Israel, especially now more than ever.
Yes. Agreed. Naomi, thank you so much. You're such a good friend, such a good partner. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Everybody, you can follow us on Instagram at NCSY Pulse, on YouTube at NCSY Pulse, and we will speak to you soon.
Thank you.